Okay, today I want to talk about one of the most common reasons people in recovery tend to want to drag recovery out. Even if they don't realize that they are, kind of subconsciously feeling like if they always sort of just stay in recovery, they always have something they're working at or working towards, or feel like they're accomplishing something in their recovery. For me, one of the biggest reasons that a lot of reasons why it took me 20 years to figure out how to fully recover. But one of the reasons prior to recovery was that how do I explain this? I wanted to always feel like I could eat a lot of food. And I felt like, because of the way that I had been treated in the past in treatment centers or outpatient programs or whatever, was that there was this like way of eating when you're in recovery that you have like permission to eat what you want and like eat highly palatable foods. But then it always felt like there's this end to it. Like there was always this like period that would come to an end, and then you'd have to figure out, okay, now how do I change and shift things, or what do I reduce or take out of my diet to be able to maintain? And so I always felt like, well, if I'm always in recovery, then I always kind of have that barrier. Like I always have that cushion to be able to eat the foods that I really, really want, but I'll always kind of maintain control of them, if that makes sense. So that there isn't ever a point where I am like, okay, now that I've hit this certain weight or this BMI, everything needs to change. I need to be more careful, which basically really is just going straight back into your eating disorder. And so when I understood, and seriously, I think this is what made a huge difference in my recovery when I fully recovered, was this novel idea that it actually doesn't end. Like the eating and enjoyment of food doesn't have to ever end, nor should it. So eating unrestrictedly is something that you do throughout recovery, but then continues when you find yourself free from your eating disorder, continues for the rest of your life. And like when I heard that message, it was like this light bulb went off in my head, and I'm like, wait, so there isn't an end. Like I could actually go through recovery eating what I want and then feel like I rewired my brain, but then still eat what I want. And like those of you listening are probably like, duh, that's so simple. But is it? Like, right? Doesn't it kind of like when you let that seep in, it sounds, wow, maybe I could do this. Maybe this is something I do want to challenge or try to do. The only difference, though, the only difference between unrestricted eating when you're in recovery and unrestricted eating when you're fully recovered is what that actually looks like. Like what your body needs when you're in recovery is a crap ton of food, right? It's a lot of food, and it's a lot of the foods that you typically avoided in the past when you had your eating disorder, the things that you've not allowed yourself to eat, the things you've created fears around, the things that you've avoided, the things that felt threatening to you are the foods that you're going to want to eat a ton of for quite some time. And then as your body feels comfortable and as your body starts to adjust to the idea of getting whatever it wants when it asks for it, your body, it wants to thrive and it wants to feel strong and balanced and healthy. So your body over time is going to start asking for different foods. It'll still obviously ask for the palatable foods, but not all and everything that you eat is going to be that. There is going to be a time when you perhaps crave fruit, or you really want, some roasted broccoli, or you want, I don't know, a really nice salad. Like it's possible, and it does happen. And it was shocking to me because like when someone would tell me that at the beginning of recovery, I'm like, eating disorder. Like if anyone ever ordered a salad, I just assumed they like relapsed. Or if anyone ever ate or chose like a fruit over a candy bar, it was like they obviously have a problem again. And I wasn't able to fully comprehend how anyone would ever want anything other than like chocolate and treats until I got my body back to a place where it was rehabilitated and fully healed, to be like, oh, maybe that is a thing, to actually crave fruits and vegetables again. Maybe you can actually order a salad when you feel like a salad, and that doesn't mean you relapsed. So um, I guess you will only believe that once you're in a place where your body is nourished completely and healed. But if you're listening to this thinking there's not a chance, like that's not me, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to do that, that's a sign that your body still needs a lot of food. So kind of like coming back to this idea of thinking that unrestricted eating has to end, it doesn't. I still eat what I want, when I want, and the amounts that I want, but it looks so different from what it did look like when I was coming out of a place of, restriction and a lot of disordered beliefs around food. So hopefully you can kind of think about your own self and be like, am I dragging on recovery? Am I kind of like trying to have the best of both worlds, where I'm like trying to like, dip my toe in and enjoy new foods and join in, but then I also in my back pocket have the eating disorder behaviors that kind of can compensate for the things that I'm challenging, so that I never completely fully lose control, or so that I never get to that place where I feel like I have to put an end to this and then, figure out how to get myself back into this maintenance state and restrict, and like it just doesn't work that way. That's a very disordered way of thinking, and that's a very common way of thinking when you still have an eating disorder. So I'm just trying to explain to you, like, eat unrestrictedly now, whatever that looks like, lose the judgment about it, and then keep eating unrestrictedly. That's how you're going to stay in recovery, is to continue eating unrestrictedly. And I think the biggest fear is that it's never going to stop. The amounts of food and the types of food that you're eating is never, ever, ever going to stop. But it does. And all I can say to that is trust. Like, trust people that have gone through it. It is going to stop. There will come a time where your body feels free to eat whatever it wants. One of the most important things about that, though, is giving yourself that permission to eat those foods without all the mental restriction, without all the judgment, without the, I shouldn't be eating this, this is so disgusting, I'm such a bad person, I have to fix this, what's wrong with me, I'm so out of control. Flip that narrative to, this is such wonderful food. It's no wonder that I want all of this. I haven't had it for so many years. Of course this food tastes delicious. Anybody in my position would want, a full box of cereal every time they sat down to eat cereal. Anybody in my position would want not just one candy bar, but multiple candy bars. Of course they would. Like, think about this from a logical standpoint, rather than getting your emotions so wrapped up in it and so letting the fear consume you when you're eating unrestrictedly. And then as you do that throughout the stages in recovery, you'll start feeling like you can be more you can come at food in a more neutral state. So it's not good and bad food. It's not, off limits and this is safe and free. Obviously, I said this before, but like, obviously an apple and candy bar has different nutritional value, right? But the emotional charge behind it, like the actual way that you view both of those, can be completely neutral, can be the same. So when it comes time to eat, you think, well, do I want an apple or a candy bar? Instead of being like, well, the candy bar has all this processed sugar and this and that, and the apple has more fiber and it might have less kind of, instead it's just like, what do I actually feel like? You can actually just like ask yourself what you feel like without so much judgment coming in. And that's what you do throughout recovery as you rewire. You practice losing the judgment around food. So I feel like I sort of rambled a bit on this. Hopefully something in this you can relate to and it will help you. But bottom line is, unrestricted eating really is for life. You don't need to drag your recovery on forever. It's a wonderful thing to feel like you can kind of actually trust your body, totally trust your body, but you're not going to be able to do that if you don't run into that fear of that kind of going into the dark, not really knowing, I don't know, how can I trust my body? Like, I've been so mean to it for so long. Give it a chance. Okay, just give it a chance and give it what it's asking for when it's asking for, and as much of it as it's asking for. I hope you have a great day. Bye.